the threat from China just got worse, much worse. Welcome to China Uncensored, I'm Chris Chappell. The Chinese Communist Party threat to the U.S. is getting more brazen and damaging than ever before. That's according to FBI Director Christopher Wray. Here he is at a recent speech at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library.
I've spoken a lot about this threat since I became FBI Director, but I want to focus on it here tonight because in many ways it's reached a new level, more brazen, more damaging than ever before, and it's vital that all of us focus on that threat together.
That's right. With Valentine's Day fast approaching, why not celebrate with your sweetheart by countering Chinese communist subversion? Wray has called out the Chinese Communist Party before, but this time it's different. The scope of the problem is bigger than it's ever been.
When we tally up what we see in our investigations, over 2,000 of which are focused on the Chinese government trying to steal our information and technology, there is just no country that presents a broader threat to our ideas, our innovation, and our economic security than China.
Wray said these thefts are happening literally every day. They're part of the Chinese regime's Made in China 2025 plan. It's the Communist Party's economic plan aimed at advancing domestic technology. That includes fields like robotics, alternative energy, aerospace, and pharmaceuticals. Of course, China isn't coming up with this tech on their own.
They unleash a massive, sophisticated hacking program that is bigger than those of every other major nation combined. Operating from pretty much every major city in China with a lot of funding and sophisticated tools.
For example, in 2020, 2 Chinese hackers working with the Ministry of State Security were indicted for stealing COVID vaccine research. And there's this story from last year.
Microsoft says that Chinese hackers have been targeting its email server software using a newly discovered bug. The tech giant says that the group has been trying to steal information from a number of American targets, including universities, defense contractors, law firms, and infectious disease researchers.
China's intellectual property theft has had a devastating effect on American businesses. Here's just one example.
Several years ago, a Chinese government-owned corporation called Sinovel stole the proprietary source code for controlling wind turbines from a U.S. company in Massachusetts, causing that U.S. company, American Semiconductor, to plummet from being a $1.6 billion company to a $200 million company, and from 900 employees to only 300 employees. That's 600 people who lost their livelihoods.
But there are other more serious threats from the Chinese Communist Party. I'll tell you after the break. Welcome back. In his recent speech, FBI Director Christopher Wray also warned that the Chinese Communist Party is trying to influence American politics. Sometimes this is with direct threats.
In November, just a couple months ago, the Chinese embassy put out letters effectively warning U.S. businesses that if they want to do business in China, they need to fight against Chinese government-related bills in our Congress.
That was basically a confirmation of this Reuters exclusive from November. China basically wants to stop Congress from passing bills that would restrict trade with China over its human rights abuses, or even just bills to strengthen the American semiconductor industry. But China uses carrots as well as sticks. Wray says China is actively trying to corrupt our leaders.
The Chinese government understands that politicians in smaller roles today may rise to become more influential over time. So they look to cultivate talent early, often state and local officials, to ensure that politicians at all levels of government will be ready to take a call and advocate on behalf of Beijing's agenda.
Yeah, this is a pretty serious thing. In fact, just over a year ago, this report in Axios showed how U.S. Congressman Eric Swalwell had been targeted by a suspected Chinese spy for years, starting when he was just a local city councilman in the San Francisco Bay Area. The alleged spy had even helped him with his political campaign. But who could say no to a girl like this, am I right? And then there's the Chinese Communist Party's Operation Fox Hunt. It literally kidnaps Chinese people living overseas and forces them to return to China.
Currently, there are hundreds of people on U.S. soil who are on the Chinese government's official Fox Hunt list, and a whole lot more that are not on the official list. And most of the targets are green card holders, naturalized citizens, folks with important rights and protections under U.S. law.
And there is outright harassment of dissidents on American soil.
For decades, the Chinese Communist Party has targeted, threatened, and harassed U.S.-based Tibetans and Uyghurs, Falun Gong members, pro-democracy advocates, and really any others who question their legitimacy or authority.
Look, I'm not expecting most Americans to spend a night watching the FBI director talk about China for an hour. That's more my kind of thing. But I think the word is getting out there. Because you know what else Americans aren't watching? The Beijing Olympics. And now it's time for me to answer a question from one of you, a fan who supports China Uncensored on the exclusive social media platform Locals. Da Hoover asks, which do you think is more likely? Russia invading Ukraine or China invading Taiwan? Why not both? Just 8 years ago, Russia invaded and annexed part of Ukraine, Crimea. And some are suggesting that Russia and China might be working together now. That Russia will invade Ukraine at the same time China invades Taiwan, to split U.S. forces. But at the same time, the cost of such an invasion would be pretty high for both Russia and China. An invasion of Ukraine would blow up any relationship Russia was trying to have with NATO countries, and a Chinese invasion of Taiwan could largely stop Western companies from investing in China. Sometimes, the threat of war can get you a lot more than an actual war. Thanks for your question and your support, Da Hoover. Da Hoover is a member of our exclusive Locals community. It's free to join, but if you want to become a paying supporter, you get access to exclusive content, like being able to chat with the community, Matt, Shelley, and myself, as well as the chance to have me answer your questions on the show. So head over to ChinaUncensored.locals.com to sign up. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.